Shout out to the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. Now in today's video, and for those that are just joining, my name is Thaddeus and this is the regalchange YouTube channel. In today's topic, I want to talk about how narcissists try to pull your soul out of you. And they're going to become infatuated with you in some ways and in some senses, in some regards, if you're not giving them the attention and the admiration that they so crave. And these kinds of people are they're just psychotic. They're just really psychotic. These are legitimately dangerous people that it's almost like anything that you say around these kinds of people can and will be used against you in one way, shape, or form down the line. And they're going to try to keep you in a trauma bond, and they're going to try to keep you stuck in this thought loop so that you never get rid of them. Or they try to make it seem like you cannot live without them. And so they want you to believe that what you want and what you need are not different things. And they will also want to make you believe that what you need is their presence, but in reality, it's them that needs you. They're the ones that need you because you understand that you have a light to you. If you are someone that is if you are participating in any kind of relationship with a narcissistic individual, the chances are that you actually have something of value to offer to the world is very high. And the reason for that is because narcissists tend to go after the best of the best. Narcissists need the best kind of supply because they do not, they literally feel empty inside their selves. They do not know what it's like to understand. And some of this can have to do with borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. I've been learning more about histrionic personality disorder ever since I did a video about it about a month or two ago. And the recollection that I've had in going through and understanding these kinds of cluster B personality disorders has been very telling to how so many modern relationships are operated. So many modern relationships are operated in the realms in regards to validation seeking, validation just in general. It's super wild how how many people will go to great lengths, males and females, will go to great lengths just to feel like they're wanted. So, for example, today at the gym, there was a woman that was reasonably attractive, and she was giving me a bunch of these choosing signals, and I noticed her, I acknowledged it, but I wasn't really feeling it. I was just kind of like, I'm just going to stick to my workout. I don't really want to talk because I've already been talking way more than I usually do at the gym and just in my community in general with networking and such recently. It's like, I really just don't care to talk too much if I don't have to. And so I was just kind of doing my own thing. And then she started working out beside me, and she was asking me if I was using the machine next to her and whatnot. And it was very evident and apparent that she wanted me to talk to her. And she was very receptive, at least so she seemed like. And so I decided I was like, what the hell? We'll give this a shot. So, cause here's something that I've learned recently. It's like, sometimes it's not always the people that you're paying attention to that you need to pay attention to. It's the people that are paying attention to you that you need to pay attention to. It's not always the case, but sometimes it is. So anyway, I decided to try this out, and I decided to talk to this woman. And we were it was a fairly nice conversation. I wasn't trying to be super flirty or anything like that. I just wanted to talk to her just to see who she really was and what she was really about. And as I was starting to ask certain questions, because when I talk to women, I like to ask a lot more questions because like I'm the one interviewing her. She's not interviewing me. I'm interviewing her. And so I'm asking her certain questions to see whether or not we even have a connection or whether or not we can make one. And she tells me about how she had been traveling from another place. Let's say, I don't want to say anything specific here or give any names or whatever, but she was traveling from another place and she lived there for 5 years and now she's here. But then she mentioned something about how, like, she lived somewhere else before that. And I said, oh, well, wait a minute. So when you were, and she said also that she was moving, we moved. She said, we moved. And I said, we? Like, who's we? Like, and she said, my family. And I was like, okay, well, what exactly, like, do you mean your family? So were you like 5 years old or something when this happened? Like, given the timeline, like, how old were you? And she kind of giggled and laughed a little bit and was like, oh, I should have clarified. And at that point I realized, okay, something's up. That was just a game right there. That was just a deception right there. Something was up. And so I was like, okay, when she said we and she said her family, I'm starting to think, okay, is this woman like in a relationship or something? I don't know. So I asked more questions, and it turned out where she slipped up and she mentioned her husband, and I was just like, okay, have a good workout. And I was like, I just bounced. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like, all of that work just to get some validation. And here's the thing. Someone like that is not going to respect their family or their husband or anything in general. It's like, well, I don't want anything to do with you. I really don't. I don't want anything to do with those kinds of people. It's really telling to interact with people like that and just to see how they will literally go out of their way to try to make it seem like, because this is what happens, right? Like, this is what really happened in that scenario. Like, she probably just wanted to see what was up. She probably just wanted to see what was up with me, and she probably just was going to decide whether she was single or not based off of the interaction. And because I wasn't super flirty or anything like that, like, I was actually just trying to get to know her, she probably seemed like, oh, okay, this guy isn't like that. Because for some reason, I get the impression that a lot of women think that I'm like an F-boy. And it's just not true. Like, I've been told like that I'm sure, like, they're sure that I have plenty of women, and it's just like, well, yeah, I have plenty of women that want me, but how much of them are worth talking to? It's pretty much ending up like this conversation that I had with this other woman today. It's just like, well, there goes 5 minutes, and it's not necessarily a waste because it's just more information and experience to understand about how, but it's also like you're weeding out, like, because you're demonstrating when you're asking certain questions and you're actually trying to get to know someone, you're demonstrating to them that you actually are looking for something more. And it's like, when they start to pick that up, that's usually when the women can, again, decide if she's single or not. But this is narcissistic-like behavior. And whether we like it or not, like, a woman that's intentionally pursuing another man, trying to invite him to talk, and not in an inviting way. It's like a seductive way. All just because she wanted the attention. It's so bizarre to me, and it goes to show just how many relationships nowadays are truly just, they're not satisfying to these people. They're not satisfying. Because I know this happens with men as well. Like, I've had women tell me that they were pretty much heartbroken when they found out that the man that they were talking to was dealing with other women. And they even gave it up to this guy. And it's like, well, what was your vetting process like? Because if your vetting process was anything like the vetting process that I did, just barely, with this woman today, you wouldn't be going through that kind of issue. You would be able to stay who you are and just be like, okay, well, better 5 minutes than a date, actually trying to get into a relationship, etc. Like, better 5 minutes being gone than a good solid chunk of your life and your resources to some degree. I do not spend money on women at all anymore, unless I'm it's actually really it's not the way I was always, because I used to be the simp that would spend all the money on them, and try to get them gifts and such. Like, for example, I was taught by my mom and my dad as early as 7th grade, when I had my first quote unquote girlfriend. It wasn't even like a girlfriend, like we'd kissed, but that was pretty much it. And I had went to go see her at her water polo training and practice. And my mom and my dad were very encouraging for me to do this, even though I didn't really want to. I thought it was kind of weird for me to do that. But my mom and my dad, who they don't understand these kinds of social dynamics. And, I'm not trying to degrade them, but that's just the reality of the situation. So they were encouraging me to go do this, and I didn't really want to, but I did it anyway because, I thought it was the romantic quote unquote thing to do. And so it was around Christmas time, and I knew she liked Twilight because all the Twilight stuff was coming out at that time. And my mom and my dad encouraged me also to take my allowance and to go spend it on this woman. Not even a woman, it was a girl. We were both in 7th grade. So in 7th grade, by the time I was in 7th grade, I was already being trained to be a simp. And I was already being trained to just give up my life force to women. And my mom, this is something that I've also learned, is if you want to know how to really treat women, basically ask your mom what to do and then do the opposite. That was my experience anyway. It's ask your mom how to treat women and then do the exact opposite. And so anyway, I ended up getting her all these Twilight things, and then shortly after that we broke up. And I didn't understand it. And my mom and my dad were like, "Oh, she just didn't really understand where you were coming from or whatnot. She didn't appreciate that." And I was just I was being told these lies. And I didn't even know that they were lies. And I'm fairly certain that my mom and my dad didn't know they were lies. They literally believed their own lies. And my mom, who we were not fairly on mutual ground a lot by the time I got to be a late teenager and early 20s, because I was the golden child in my family unit. For those that are unfamiliar with narcissistic environments, there's usually the golden child, the scapegoat, the black sheep, and then the narcissistic individuals. And so I was the golden child up until my late teens and early 20s, and then I was the scapegoat. And so now everything that was wrong with the family was put on me. And that's another way that narcissists try to literally pull your soul out of you. It's really bizarre how they try to make it seem like you're the one with all of these issues, and you're the one that has this like natural collateral to everything that you do, and you are a natural liability in which they teach you how to be someone that is, what would you say, uh, it's learned helplessness. That would be a good way to think about it. You are basically taught to be helpless and to rely on the narcissist, and that's just not a way to live, man. That's just not a way to live. And especially with these narcissistic women out here that do just want the attention and validation, they are very dangerous. They are very, very dangerous, and they will like take your life force if you allow it. And it can be very challenging for you, because I've had people tell me in my sessions that multiple people, specifically the males for the narcissistic females here, or at least talking about the narcissistic females, that they were like drawn to these women, like they were drawn to them, and something was almost like pulling them that way. And some of these stories that I've heard have turned out better, at least 2 that I can think of out of like the 10 that I've heard. But the other 8 or so turned out for the worst. And this was, even with myself, I've had that kind of natural draw towards certain women a couple times in my life. It's almost like, it's like my biology is screaming yes, but then my but then my logical brain is like, no, man, like do not even go near that person. And yet it's like my biology, like, almost like cannot help wanting to go near this person, because they're just so, especially masculine women, which tend to be narcissistic women, I would say, and by far the most dangerous are masculine women. It's not necessarily that if a woman is capable of being in that masculine energy or not. It's more like if she's pretty much always there and trying to always compete, it's not good. Like, you'll notice that she has like a lower voice as well. Like, it's like, man, y'all like, you sound like a dude. Like, I would almost call you a bro. Like, you sound like a dude. But those are the kinds of women, especially, that have this like draw, and they have like this drawing ability towards you as a man, especially if you're a man that has experienced some kind of form of emotional trauma with your mom. And I know that because that was me as well. My mother still is, to this day, highly narcissistic, and I pray for her all the time. But at the same time, you know, it's almost like you've got to accept that sometimes it's better to be like arm's length, and sometimes it's better to have no contact. And that's up to you to decide in your personal relationships. But when these kinds of women have this kind of drawing ability out of you, usually what they're doing is, just by their mere presence, what they can do is literally suck your soul away from you, because they're a vacuum. There's nothing there. Like, I've even had narcissists, both male and female, because the male's narcissists, they're way more overt, right? Like, the female narcissists are way more covert, but the male narcissists are way more overt. But I think the most dangerous narcissist out there would be the covert male narcissist, for sure, because that one is a strategic minded, soul sucking demon from hell, if I've ever seen one. Whew, man, yeah, they are very dangerous, because they can make it seem like they're the nicest person in the world. Like, what was the name of that murderer and that guy that, I don't remember his name, but he basically there was an interview with this guy, and he had committed like homicide like 17 times, or killed like 17 people. And when he was being interviewed, he was telling the police, he's like, well, that was like 10 years ago. Like, I'm a different kind of person now. And then he accused them of calling him a liar. He's like, you're going to call me a liar? Well, I may have killed those people, but I'm not a liar. And so he uses the truth to tell lies in a very, very, very manipulative way. And women can do this too if they're narcissists, but I think the male covert narcissist is just so much better at this, like so much better. And not in the kind of way that's a good better. It's a worse better. But ultimately, yeah, these individuals out here that can draw you, because I do know males can do this too, where you can like feel like this drawing energy toward them. What that really is, it's a black hole, man. That's all it is. It's a black hole, and it's best if you just steer clear from those kinds of people. So, with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful to some degree, and peace be with you. Till next time.